Hey guys, so this is another video to kind of help you guys with some of the immune processes. Um, this time we're going to talk about your cell-mediated immunity, or your cell-mediated response rather. It's going to be a part of your acquired, just like your humoral response. So again, this is something that you're gaining over time. You're not born with it. It's something that your body builds up. So this is why, again, as you get older, you get sick less often and you're able to fight off more diseases. And when you do get sick, they usually get fixed or dealt with much faster. So think of humoral almost like as your third line of defense. It is some sort of antigen gets into your system. You might have gotten sick the first time, but eventually you deal with it and you prevent that antigen from fully taking over. So whether it's the flu or whatever, it keeps you from getting sick in the future. So cell mediated is like the fourth or like final line of defense. Like this is it. This is your body calling in the big guns. This is everything that you got. Because what cell mediated is going to do that's different from humoral is humoral was actually killing the antigen, right? It was killing this guy here, whatever was coming into our body. Again, whether it was the flu or whatever, it was actually destroying the thing coming into us. What makes your cell-mediated response a little bit different is it's going to be killing what are called infected cells, which are your own body cells. So at this point, the antigen has attacked you for either long enough or successfully enough that it's starting to take over. You're starting to get sick, and some of your cells are being infected by whatever this is. So what's going to eventually happen, the end goal is that this infected cell is going to get destroyed. So it's your body technically destroying itself. You are destroying your own liver cells or skin cells or whatever, any cells that are getting infected by this virus, you're destroying them with the hope of your body being that it's not going to spread further. It's to prevent the spread now. If I'm killing all the cells that are infected, this virus or bacteria or whatever it is, it can't continually keep replicating. So it's kind of your body's last ditch effort to get rid of a disease. So the first thing that is going to be the first thing that's going to be kind of starting it all off is your macrophage, or really just a white blood cell. You don't have to worry about the macrophage component. So this white blood cell here, just like before, is going to be consuming a foreign body. So something's going to come into our system that is not ours, and just like before, this macrophage is going to consume or eat this particular antigen. So it's going to get rid of it. Through, again, phagocytosis. That's when a white blood cell consumes and eats a foreign body of some kind. Now, what's really important, or one of the first key differences between cell-mediated and humoral, is that once this foreign body gets eaten, something's going to happen to the macrophage. So I'm going to draw in green, similar to the antigen that we just looked at. So it's going to form these little protein markers. And again, they're not actually triangles, just like when we draw antibodies and antigens. They're not actually triangles on the cell, but these are like green protein markers, and they are what are called MHCs. And a MHC it technically stands for a major histocompatibility complex. You guys do not need to know that. As long as you know that it stands for MHC, that's what really matters. And the goal, or the purpose of an MHC, is going to be to kind of teach our immune system. Similar to when you looked at the humoral video, our helper T cell kind of taught the naive B cell how to deal with the antigen. Here, the MHC is going to be the important part. Now, the MHC is specific to the antigen. So again, whatever disease we're talking about, let's say that this is, we're going to say that it's the flu again, just because that's what we're going to talk about. So this MHC would be specific to the flu. It's like a trophy of a kill. It's proof that, hey, I'm a white blood cell and look at what I destroyed. Look at what I found. Almost like if a dog brought you a bone from something it found in the yard. It's just finding proof of what it's destroyed. So what's really important about this, like I said, is it's going to teach our body how to fight a specific type of illness. So what's going to happen, just like in humoral response, our helper T cell is going to kind of be the key component in initiating all of this. So what's going to happen is our helper T cell is going to come over and kind of attach or anchor itself to this MHC. And what that's going to do is it's going to, just like where the helper T cell programmed the naive B cell in humoral response, the helper T cell here is going to kind of program itself. It's going to look at this MHC and teach itself to look for and destroy anything that has this protein marker. So it's similar to an antigen, but not quite. Again, it's proof of what's inside of the cell. It's proof that this macrophage, this white blood cell, ate a specific virus or germ. So this helper T cell is now going to program itself to fight this thing. So just like before, when a helper T cell programs, it's going to, just like that B cell differentiated, the helper T cell is going to do the same thing. It's going to differentiate, or basically go into two different forms. It's going to make two versions of itself. So one version that we're going to talk about next is killer T cells. So some of them are going to become killer T cells, which, as you can kind of guess by the name, are going to be the cells that attack and destroy. They're kind of almost like the special forces for your immune system. It's like the equivalent of a Navy SEAL. And then you have the memory memory T cells. And they are just like the memory B cells that we talked about. We're going to get to these guys last because they're a little bit simpler. But really, they're just like those memory B cells we talked about in humoral. Their job is to remember the MHC for the future, but we'll get there. So let's talk about killer T cells first, because they're going to be a little bit trickier. So let's kind of clear the page for a second here so I have some space to write. So your killer T cells, like I said, are the special forces of your body. They are designed to fight only one type of MHC, so really only one type of foreign body. And again, what's going to make cell-mediated different is it's killing your own body cells. So a killer T cell, unlike the plasma cells and unlike our white blood cells that are destroying the flu virus directly, at this point, the flu virus or whatever disease that we are talking about has gone too far. It's taken over too many cells. Your body's like almost in like a damage control state. It's trying to reduce the spread of this particular virus or pathogen or bacteria or whatever it is. So what it's going to do is it's going to be killing your own body cells. So you can see here I have an infected cell. So you can see inside of it in green is the actual virus or bacteria itself. So if this was my liver or heart or epithelial tissue somewhere or connective tissue, it could be anywhere. The idea is that the blue part is my actual body cell, but it has been infected by this virus. So what happens is when it gets infected by this virus, just like that white blood cell we talked about earlier, it makes those MHC proteins. So it kind of puts these markers on itself saying, hey, I'm infected, help me, help me, help me. Like, you got to get rid of this. You got to help me. You got to save this situation because I'm infected and I'm going to start spreading the virus. So what happens is this. So again, this is our MHC. This is that marker saying, hey, like this is a problem. We need to get rid of this. The killer T cell is going to recognize that MHC. And remember, this is specific to every single foreign body. So you're going to have a different MHC for the flu compared to a different MHC for mumps or measles or whooping cough. You're all going to have different ones. No protein marker is going to be the same. I'm drawing it as a green triangle here, but let's say, for example, if it was mumps, it might be, and again, these are just diagrams to show you, it might be a purple circle, or sorry, a purple square or a red circle or whatever. But the idea is that you're going to have a different MHC, a different protein marker, depending on what the virus is. So in this specific case, this green MHC appears, the killer T cell is going to come over and deal with the situation. It's like, okay, this cell is compromised. It's going to start infecting the rest of my body. I have to get rid of this. I have to deal with this situation before it gets worse. So before, when we were talking about humoral response, your white blood cells physically eat, right? They basically almost through phagocytosis eat and destroy that foreign body, right? So we used the flu virus last time, the antibodies attach to it, and it gets destroyed. However, in this case, the killer T cell doesn't eat the infected cell. It basically poisons it. It kind of almost inserts these toxins into it. And what these toxins do is they cause what is called apoptosis. And apoptosis is basically cell death. So it kills the cell with a toxin. It poisons it and kind of just leaves it to die and eventually gets cleaned up by some white blood cells. So the idea is that it has killed, again, your own cell. So it's killed this liver cell or whatever, with the goal being that way it can't further spread and infect your body. So that's why this is the last line of defense. It's to keep infection from further spreading not directly kill, it's never going to kill the flu virus. You still need your humoral system to do that. It's to prevent the spread once a virus has become too prevalent in your body, or a bacteria or anything of that nature. So again, the killer T cell is inserting a toxin and killing the infected cell and then kind of just moving on. It doesn't clean it up, it almost like assassinates it and then moves on. So again, that's why it's like a really complex killer cell in your body. So now that we've kind of talked about the killer T cell and we've talked about the infected T cell, we've kind of talked about what's going to happen to get rid of the disease in the first place, right? So once you get sick, this is how it deals with it. But what's really important, and again, makes it a part of your acquired immune system, is we have another cell that's going to be really important that we briefly talked about earlier, which is your memory T cell. So your memory T cell is going to, again, just like your memory B cell, they're called memory cells for a reason, their role or their job is to remember that disease. So your memory B cells from humoral remembered a specific antigen, right? If they ever saw that antigen again, they would kind of alert your body, send off the alarm, and your body would go through that humoral response again and very quickly deal with it. Memory T cells are very similar, just they're going to detect a different substance. What they are going to detect is, again, that MHC, that complex, that protein marker. So if, let's say, somehow this virus or bacteria gets into my body again, it infects my, again, liver cell or epithelial cell or a muscle tissue or whatever, that cell is going to mark itself, put up this like surrender flag that is the MHC. It's going to say, hey, I'm infected. Help me, help me, help me, get rid of this thing. Your memory T cell is going to recognize it. And once it recognizes, it kind of alerts your body. And just like in our other acquired response, just like in humoral, what it's going to do is it's going to essentially call over or alert the rest of your immune system. And those killer T cells are going to come over again and attack and deal with this infected cell. They're going to poison it just like before and get rid of it so it's not a problem. So again, just like humoral, because it is a type of acquired immune system, it takes time to build this. It takes time to learn it. But the idea is that after that initial onset, after you've dealt with that antigen, after you've dealt with that foreign body the first time, because your body has these memory cells, it can very quickly, the next time it's exposed to it, deal with it. The bigger thing about cell-mediated, the bigger differences are, one, it's using some different cells like we saw. Two, it is using, it's killing the cell rather than eating it. So it's destroying it in a different way. And lastly is, remember, and probably the biggest thing is it is killing your own cells. Your body is destroying itself to prevent further spread of a virus or bacteria. So again, it's killing your own body cells. That's really the most important part, guys.